this is one of our friends, Andy Seehausen. You'll probably recognize him because David Mesker started coming down with him to Texas years ago. He's been to Japan with us a bunch of times. He's been to a ton of rounds of Lone Star Drift. He's the guy that built David Mesker's Monster S13 with the 3.4 liter JZ and all that stuff. He worked for Power Vehicles for quite some time, ran their Formula D stuff. Not ran it, but like worked on the team and everything, so he's very experienced in FD. Crew chief. He works with Worthhouse right now, and I just wanted to, and we're also gonna hear cars come around, so it's gonna be kind of loud here because we're at an actual Formula D event. I just want to know what they do to keep these cars running, because they're consistently, he's in like the lead this year, right? He won the entire season last year. That's not a coincidence when you can keep a car running at like, you know, that level all the time so it can be competitive. You can't leave it up to chance, like, is the car gonna run this weekend? Okay, so why don't you get started? Just give us a rundown of what you, now you can hear from over here. Give us a rundown of what you do to keep the car going. Like, when you get to the event, what do you do? When you come off of track, you know, and you check the car after every 2 laps or every lap or, you know, whatever, what do you do? Just like, how do you keep these things together?
Okay, so from the start, you know, usually we'll fly in. Immediately, we're either at a garage, we're at a track, cars are up in the air. Because these cars run WiseFab and they run such large tires, we're constantly checking suspension components, axles, everything. And the cars get a once-over when we get to the track, but before that, they also get a once-over in Chicago at Worthhouse's headquarters. And they get cleaned up, taken apart, all the new aero gets put on them, the suspension gets checked.
Hey, how much engine stuff do they do? Do they dyno the cars every time they come back? Do they compression test them? Like, how do you know that when they're in Chicago, how do you know that the engines are gonna last? How do you know that the transmissions are good? How do you know, like, are you checking the spherical bearings just by shaking them to check to see if the suspension's good? Are you just nut and bolting everything? Like,
so with the suspension, what I mean by checking it over, usually we check spherical bearings for play. We'll nut and bolt everything. You check all the nuts, everything. I mean, as far as motors, transmissions, stuff like that, we really don't have to do much to them because they don't really have a lot of runtime on them. You know, they get driven on and off the trucks, they get driven at practice, they get driven in qualifying, they get driven obviously in competition. With that being said, you know, like St. Louis, we had a problem where we threw a rod through the block, and that wasn't due to maintenance, it's just fatigue. Motors were old. We also had a problem in Seattle where we had to change a motor out before the event due to the same thing, fatigue. But as far as maintenance, you know, we're very cautious. It's not like you go to an event and you just kind of sit around. We're constantly working on the cars all the time, changing fluids, checking over stuff, making sure belts are tight. You know, you don't want the stupid little mistakes. You can't let something like a $20 set of spark plugs cost you a $10,000 event. So it's kind of, I guess, not our philosophy, but what we do.
So every time you come off track, are you checking the spark plugs, physically pulling them out, looking at them? Like,
no, so when it comes to stuff like that, we get 2 laps per set of tires. So we do a lead and then a chase. We come back. We put roughly 2.5 gallons of fuel in them. We pull the wheels off. We do a visual inspection. We check all the rose joints, spherical bearings. Put a hand on all of the adjuster nuts, make sure that they're not loose. We also check the drive shaft to make sure that, you know, the U-joint isn't failing or anything like that.
Do you just physically grab the drive shaft and go like that?
Yeah, you put a hand on it and you make sure that there's no movement. You make sure that none of the nuts or bolts are loose, because that's the thing about these cars, they rattle themselves apart, you know. In Pro 2, I had David's over fenders almost fall out because it was backing the nuts off. It's pretty much the procedures for stuff like that.
Then what actually fails? When you're going through the cars and stuff, what do you typically see fail? What are you actually fixing? Because you can't just be checking everything constantly. You actually, I see you guys working constantly, so like, not everything is just checking bolts. Like, are axles failing very often? Are you killing CVs? You know, are you killing wheel bearings? What actually physically fails on these cars? What do you need to stock in the trailer so you always have it? Like, what are y'all working on?
Okay, so most things don't really fail due to lack of maintenance or fatigue. A lot of things happen to crashes. For instance, St. Louis, we went over a rumble strip. and I believe we lost a traction rod, which in turn killed the knuckle, killed the axle, and pretty much took out that entire corner. So, for instance, in St. Louis, we ended up having to take the entire driver's side corner of the rear of the car off, including the axle, and replace that 10 minutes before qualifying. This is why you should never endorse somebody to buy a Corvette.
Because they're so loud? They come with mufflers from the factory.
Yeah, but people take fucking mufflers off 350Zs.
Yeah. That's not my problem. Oh, god damn it, that is my problem.
That is your problem.
Okay, keep going. Did you guys, when you put that new corner of the car on, is it all pre-assembled with the arms and the knuckle and everything ready to go? And like pre-adjusted, and you do an alignment with it before you even get there kind of thing, so you can just slam that on? Or do you put an arm on, and replace each piece one as a piece?
That's kind of per accident. We do actually have a subframe that is completely set up, and it is aligned, has a winner's quick change, ready to, if we have an incident where the subframe gets damaged or too much suspension gets damaged at once, we can pull the whole subframe out, pull the dry brake lines, slam the new one in, and we're ready to go. We do a lot of track alignments, you know, with toe and camber and stuff like that. So it really just depends on what happens, what fails, really, what parts fail.
How many extra parts do you travel with? I'm just gonna ask, and you're just gonna tell me real quickly. Body kits.
Oh God, at least 30 full body kits.
30 full body kits, that is insane. How many wheels?
There are 12 sets per car.
So 12 sets per car. Do you have 3 cars, or are you just counting 2 cars? Because you have 3.
You know what, it might be 10 sets per car. But I'm just counting 2 cars.
So is that 20 wheels or 40 wheels per car then?
20 rear wheels. And then we have 4 front wheels per car.
So you have approximately 48 wheels that you travel with. How many tires? But all the tires are shipped to the track by the tire. Okay, so they don't travel with that. What else is crazy? How many full sets of wise fab?
Full sets of wise fab, we usually have 2 full sets of wise fab on hand. Usually 6 or 8 tie rods. 2 steering racks per car. At least 6 power steering pumps. We do have a full backup engine. I'm sorry, 2 full backup engines.
How many backup transmissions?
We have 2 Samsona backup transmissions.
I have heard that you guys have a spare dash.
No, it's in David's car. And
Okay, no dash.
I'm sorry, it might not be Samsona. I think they're Quiet. Hey, are those Quiet transmissions?
What?
Do we run Quiet transmissions?
Wait,
Whatever. Yeah, quick
Okay.
transmission.
How many like spare batteries do you bring? Any? No spare batteries. Okay, so you never fail with those. Spare ECUs?
I think there is a spare ECU.
What kind of ECU do you guys run?
Link?
Link?
Yeah, I think we're running links.
When you said 30 full body kits, did you say 30?
We started out the year with 30 full body
Oh my god, 30 full body kits. These are painted body kits that are wrapped and everything.
Painted,
like
wrapped, graphics, ready to pretty much go on
Yeah.
other than drilling holes.
So this isn't raw, this is, they have, and you travel with them,
So
right?
that one right there I pulled out of our trailer to replace James's front bumper, yes.
Wow, they travel with that.
wait, why?
Because what you don't see is that vinyl underneath the headlight is actually cardboard smashed behind the vinyl because he knocked out the corner.
How many spare intercoolers do y'all travel with?
2.
Okay, just 2 extras, right, on the
Two
side.
extras. And then we have the spare car.
Radiators.
We don't spare. We don't need those.
Oh, you never wreck them?
No, they're in the rear of the car.
Oh, okay, they're in the back. So if you stuff the back that hard, there's no fixing
If
it
you stuff
anyways.
the back that hard, you're never fixing that car. Yeah. That's
Okay.
like David's car.
But you have a spare car, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. We, at all times, have a 48-foot enclosed triple axle trailer that follows this truck regularly.
Oh, sorry. How many extra turbos? And to be clear, he just said they bring 2 full trailers. 1 trailer with 3 cars in it, and then 1 with just body kits and extra parts. So a 48-foot, you said?
Well, yeah, 48-foot, but it also has our pit truck, which is that little K truck you'll see running around.
Yeah.
It carries the floor. It carries extra stuff that we can't fit in the truck. We are a very large operation.
All right, how many drivers do you have?
2.
2 drivers. How many crew members?
10?
10 crew members. Do you have any like hospitality or like management or anything else?
We do have a full-time manager, Michael Sheehan. We don't have hospitality. We end up hiring that out at every round. Actually, last year we had, I think, 20 people on the team, including the drivers.
Okay, so 20 people on their team last year, and this year it sounds like approximately 13 with things like hospitality or extra things like subbed out, farmed out to someone else, so they don't have to bring it themselves. And when I say hospitality, that means drinks, food. Like if you're feeding 12 people or 20 people, that's a full-time job just for somebody to go get, what is that, 30 meals a day plus snacks, probably 100 drinks plus.
We make the truck driver go do that stuff for us, but like we'll have somebody come and cook us lunch for race day. For all. We usually have a catering company come in and do lunch on race day for the warehouse staff and all the warehouse bigwigs.
Is there anything else interesting about this team that's different from, say, like the Power Vehicles team when you ran with them? This is obviously a bigger operation, right?
This is a much larger operation. When I was with Power Vehicles, it was great because it was essentially Andy, the driver, myself, and then Dan, who is now Dan from Hoonigan. And you know, we had a few guys here and there. We had Jono, who has been in Lone Star videos. He built the car for the most part. And then Emily would come over and spot, but for the most part, it was just a 4-person team at best. With this is a well-funded operation. We've got multiple guys working on the cars at all times. Yeah, I mean, this is about as world-class as it gets.
To put something else in perspective, if you have a crew like of just at the event, how many days are y'all here like at the event working?
So usually I'll fly in on Tuesday night.
You can get it, go ahead.
No, that's fine. Tuesday night, and then I will usually fly home Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. This instance, I'm gonna hang out with you guys at Lone Star, round whatever.
Okay, so that makes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 days of work, correct?
Yes.
By 12 people now, it was 20. So 4 days, how many hours in a day? 10? 12? 8?
I would say anywhere from 12 to 14.
So 4 days by 12 people times, what'd I say? Yeah, 12 hours per day minimum. That's 576 hours of labor. Does that sound accurate? In a weekend. And when they were doing 20 people, that would be more like 800 hours or something like that. So it starts to give you an idea of how long in each weekend it takes to pull something off for that many people. Actually takes over 500 hours of work, which is kind of mental when you think about it, to keep 2 cars going for basically 3 days. And that's with y'all cutting loose like immediately when y'all are done, and everybody getting back out the next morning basically on planes. And that does not include back in Chicago prepping the cars, changing things like that, or any catastrophic damage. That only covers basic maintenance and getting the cars at the event and like doing all that stuff.
That just covers track time. That doesn't cover travel time. That doesn't cover any of the work behind the scenes with sponsors, getting parts, you know, managing the team. I mean, God, Michael Sheehan is, you know, a savior half the time because he has to wrestle 13 people at all times to make sure they're doing their jobs, and that we have the parts and that, you know, things go according to plan. Or things like, you know, us having beds to sleep in, because that is a thing.
Yeah, keeping them all sober and not partying the whole time probably.
No comment.
No comment. Okay, is there anything interesting you think we missed? One thing that's really cool about this is he has gathered an insane amount of time on winning teams and experience through working with David through like Pro-Am, and then, you know, whatchamacallit, Power Vehicles.
Hey, I had a great year last year.
Yeah, and then Worthhouse and everything. He has an incredible resume as a race car mechanic. What's your comment or your name on this team?
I'm just a crew member.
Just a crew member? Okay. Do you think that you could continue doing this in the future since you've been doing it so long? Is there some way for you to move up into another position? Like, you're already on the winning team. What do you do? Are you gonna run your own program?
I mean,
obviously that was a dumb question.
No, I mean, looking forward, you know, you know, I've been fortunate enough to, last year was a good year for me. I was involved with 3 teams that won their championships. David, who won Lone Star Championship, Andrew Gray, who won the Formula Drift Japan Championship, and then Warthouse, who won the Formula Drift America Championship. So I guess to answer your question, I could be working for somebody like, who are those kids with the HGK cars?
They never got those things.
Well, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The Swords? No,
Yeah.
it's not Swords. Is it
I think
Swords?
that's right.
Okay, so I could
Something
work
like that.
I could work for teams that would be coming up and wanting to do that, and basically my next level would be crew chiefing for somebody like that. I'm not saying that that's what I'm trying
Right
to
now,
do,
though,
but
you're a lucky rabbit's foot. If you want to win a championship, you hire this guy because he's on all the winning teams.
damn,
In 1 year.
Yeah, maybe you should just be a rabbit's foot and just like people hire you and just
That'd
like
be
hang you
sick.
around their necks.
I would love to just show up and not do anything. No, I mean, it takes a lot of work. You have to, so for anybody that's actually going to put a team together, you have to, A, don't hire your friends because they're lazy and they're going to just expect money out of you. And B, you have to hire people that are actually going to work because this is work. You have to treat it like work. This is not hanging out at a racetrack. If you're sitting around drinking beer all day long, you're not going to be ready to be on grid. So you're not going to be ready to practice. Championships can be lost because of their crew. And it's been shown time and time again. For example, and I don't mean, I like Chris as a person, but Chris Forsberg fired MA Motorsports, and the next year he didn't do so well. So, your crew is a lot to do with it.
Don't fire him. You'll lose a championship.
I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay. One more thing. Well, no, a bunch of things. How long does it take if y'all blow that motor? How long will it take to get the new motor in the engine bay? You know what I mean? Like, how long will it take for you to be back at grid?
So, if you're Dean Kearney, it takes 12 hours because Vipers are not easy to work on.
Yeah.
These guys, we're looking at like 4 to 5.
Okay. So it's plausible if you blow that thing in practice or something else that you can make it back if you get a good qualifying run, make it in the show to like get this thing repaired. You could absolutely do that in an afternoon.
Absolutely.
How long for a transmission swap?
45 minutes,
How long for an axle swap?
10 minutes.
How long for a WiseFab like arm swap? Since I'm not plugging them, it's just what they run. So how long?
I did it in 20 minutes.
20 minutes. What is the worst failure that y'all came back from this year?
This year, really, we've been, well, you mean at an event?
Yeah, at an event, it broke and you made it happen, or your crew guys, and got them back on grid because of some big failure. What's the best
It would
failure?
be St. Louis where we had a suspension failure.
Really?
We had a bad failure in Long Beach. Unfortunately, we were a minute short. We couldn't make it happen.
Here's another question. Do you actively choose, look at how cool that Jeep is, Si.
Long
Okay.
wheelbase.
Do you actively choose teams that you know have a chance of winning, or are these just random jobs that you get? Like, are you actively choosing, you're like, this team can win, I want to be on this team because it's going to be awesome?
Okay, so I got on this team by chance. Last year, I got on Andrew Gray's team because I went over with you guys. Andrew Gray introduced me to Dean Kearney, and when Andrew Gray decided not to run Formula D America anymore, Dean Kearney called me to help with Warthouse. So I was fortunate enough to be lucky enough to work with these guys. Now, this year I actively pursued working for him. Now, not to be a dick, but I wouldn't work for somebody like Jeff Jones because, it's just, I'm not gonna say not worth my time, but it's not worth the hassle. I like this job, but I don't like it that much.
Zing.
It'd be like working for fielding.
Oh man, now you're talking fielding. You're just making enemies over here. This is rough.
I hope.
So you don't build these cars. The other cars with power vehicles, you help build the car. With David Mesker, you help build the car, so you know the cars really well.
Right.
Is it a different experience not building these cars, not knowing them super well when you get to the track? Because like, it is kind of an S15 and you know S chassis really well. So, and it's a JZ platform, so you know that well. You know most of the platform. But do you ever get to the track and you're like, everything is built in a way that doesn't make sense to me and I can't fix this thing in a good way, you know what I mean? Or is it all really easy and simplistic and like thought out well?
Now, these cars, for what they are, they're very simplistic. But with that being said, the crew and myself lean heavily on the crew chiefs that have actually built these cars. So James's brother and James built his car. Peter Gallo, they built his car. We rely heavily on them. And I don't really touch anything until they tell me, yes, this needs to be done. With that being said, the car is a dry sump 2J, and that's about the most difficult thing about them. But out of respect and not wanting to damage anything, you know, we wait till the crew chiefs tell us what to do.
Okay, cool. So you do not dislike not working on the cars and building them? No. Probably makes it a whole lot easier for you not having to build the cars.
It is, but I do enjoy building cars. Like with Andy's car, it was nice because I knew where everything was.
You're making it worse?
Am I really?
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Oh, rip.
What have I done?
Rip video. Oh God. Oh God.
Take the ND off.
And it's gonna get worse.
It's drying out really fast.
Okay.
All right, keep going.
Now it's all like.
This is how professional we are.
Now Andy looks all dreamy now.
This is like working with Dean Kearney.
Oh, brutal.
With Andrew Gray's car, it was nice because I knew where everything was, I knew how everything worked, and I knew if I needed to take the front bash bar off, I knew how it came apart because I built it. And with these cars, over time, I've been around them for about 2 years, I know how everything works now. But at first it was intimidating, it was not easy. So I would much rather build a car and maintain it than just show up.
All right, what else? Do you have anything else to say? No?
We can continue this on Sunday.
No, it's going great. This is wonderful. I'm shielding the thing from rain right now. It's beautiful. Oh, how much nitrous do you guys go through when you fill those things?
So we generally change the bottle every 6 runs.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's like a 200 shot then.
150.
150 shot.
Like consistent 150.
Okay, and you change tires every 2 laps?
Every 2 laps.
And do y'all make it all the way to the end of the 2 laps like well, or are y'all just like on the bleeding edge of getting through with your tires?
It depends on the racetrack. Depending on the length of the racetrack and the compound of the racetrack. Not the compound.
The surface.
Yeah, the surface of the racetrack. We will actually skate by.
Yeah.
And barely make it, and sometimes we come back with a half tire.
Okay. But you're still going to change them anyways every 2 laps. Do your drivers constantly ask for more power, or are they perfectly happy with the amount of power they have and they don't like want all the time, if you know what I mean? Because I know a lot of drivers, I won't name them, but you know, they're always complaining about the powertrains in their cars and not having enough, and they think that's the limiting factor, and that like if you turn up the power or if you turn up a certain thing that they'll have a chance to win because they're highly competitive. Are your guys lacking something that they're, you know, want to be more competitive with?
No. So that's a good point, you know, not to beat a dead horse.
Texas guys. Oh, there's Mesker. You got mentioned in the video.
Nice.
Yeah. You think that now?
Not to beat a dead horse, but you know, with Dean Kearney, he makes roughly 1,500 horsepower. These cars here stand on top of the podium at 950. So there's something to be said about having the correct power to tire ratio and knowing how to use it. The only time our drivers have ever complained is when the nitrous doesn't work.
Yeah. Are the cars drivable without the nitrous?
Yes.
They are? Yes. So they can still compete without the nitrous and finish a lap or whatever?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Did you have one giant challenge this year that was a disaster that y'all couldn't surmount?
Well, I mean, personally, I got married and had to leave for Seattle the next day.
Oh, God. I thought you were going to
later.
say your marriage was the disaster.
No.
I'm joking.
No.
Are you going to Japan with us?
I don't know.
This will be the first year he doesn't go to Japan with us. That'll be sad. Make Andy buy you a ticket.
Yeah, right. Make somebody pay for me to go over there.
Yeah. The problem is you're getting too fancy. You're too expensive because you're so good.
I am a $2 whore. No, Megan and I tried, but with getting married and we're trying to buy a house, so it doesn't look like that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think the house is a good idea.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
I should at least make her happy. I drugged her to Japan for 2 weeks last year.
Yeah, I think she enjoyed it.
Maybe. was pretty miserable until I proposed.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm happy with how this went. Give me a hug, Andy. Good luck. He's been through a ton of stuff with us. You've seen him in episodes where we went to Japan together. He's been all over Texas with us. He's probably done at least 20 track days with us or something. Plus all the time overseas and stuff, because when we're over there for, God,
I'm over there for
14 days, yeah. And he was at the very first Ebisu experience I ever went to, which is really cool because I love that place. Okay, good luck. Get back to work on your team. You guys should go win. Are you going to win this weekend?
Hopefully.
Okay, good.
So, one more thing. I'm fortunate enough to be able to travel the country and see all of the drifting organizations and everything else that goes on in this country. And to say that Lone Star and Aaron Losey run the best series is, you know, that's not even enough words. I mean, you guys have the best series, you guys have the best community, like, just keep it up.
Thank you so much. Heart.
You didn't pay him for this.
You didn't pay me for this. And for the people that are thinking...
Here you go, Andy.
Yeah.
Thanks. Good job.
The people that are thinking about coming down to Lone Star absolutely do. David, you know, David and I discussed this 3 years ago about coming down because we weren't happy with the Midwest series. And his driving has grown exponentially, and he's become the person he is, the driver he is today because of Lone Star Drift. So, shameless plug. Here's your $10 back.
Oh, thanks. I want to make more comments, but you have to turn off the camera before I can.